Don, I'm not a globetrot. I'm open-minded to it until I could see somebody prove. I'm gonna assume the Earth is flat because it looks flat.
Yeah, yeah.
But
No,
what's your opinion on the Trinity? What's your explanation for that? And do you think two questions? Like one, how do you describe the Trinity? And two, do you think that Jesus is God?
yeah, no, I don't believe in the Trinity, and I don't. So here's the thing: God is a person, right? We have a Creator, an Almighty, the Father. He created all things. His name is Yahweh, right? In Islam, you refer to him as Allah, but Allah, I believe, is just Arabic for God. So it's like calling him God, right? So that's not his name. Do in Islam does God have a name?
No, just Allah. Just
Okay.
God.
All right. So in the Bible, right, in the book of Exodus, which is a part of the Torah, which I believe Muslims and Islam recognize as, a accurately preserved portion of the scriptures. I think Muslims particularly have a problem with the New Testament, but they don't I haven't heard them criticize the Old Testament that much. So as far as I'm aware, they acknowledge the writings of Moses. Have you heard anything otherwise to that?
I think that's correct, but there's a lot of criticism in the Quran about the way that Jews conduct business and credit, especially like credit and interest, all that's haram, and everything in the Kabbalah and the Talmud, like all the mysticism and stuff, that's completely haram. But
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't. What have you heard about the Jews and how they conduct interest? Like they charge interest.
well, if you look into the Talmud, or if you even look in the Kabbalah, there's some verses where they talk about it's not a sin to lie to goy. Like they don't think that you can lie to goy because they're the chosen people and they see others as
That's all nonsense. You know this, right? Yo.
What up, Donna? You can hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you good, brother. How you doing, my man?
Doing good. Long time no see or talk.
Yeah, long time, bro. Long time. How you been, man?
I'm good. I've been traveling a lot and just like working hard. I have a fire video in the works right now, and then I'm gonna be traveling more. But grind don't stop. How you
Fire
been?
video like old school SNEAKO, like in the terms of like you out in the streets with a DSLR.
Not out in the streets, but yeah, there's some out in the street stuff. But it's a commentary that I just wrote. I had a fire new video too. If you like the old SNEAKO, it's called Rat Race. I put it on Twitter.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, you'll like
Man.
that.
Yeah, man. So yeah, there's been a lot of evolution since we last spoke.
Yeah, you're a Pharisee now.
Apparently that's what they calling me because I preach keeping the commandments and all that. But yeah, and now you are a Muslim.
I am, yeah.
Okay, all right. So talk to me. I've seen you had a number of conversations with Muslims about your conversion. Have you had any? Oh, didn't you? Well, I suppose you had a conversation with Gideon. No.
Yeah, with Gideon and a lot of other Christians like Nick Fuentes. And there's been I've been seeing a lot of debates, and there's been a lot of all the religious people are reacting to this stuff. So I'm in tune. I've been having a lot of conversation with people.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not here to debate you or anything like that. So I mean, just tell me. I think that I have a different perspective than most Christians. So what was the thing that, because I remember at one point we had spoke, you were considering getting into Catholicism.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up Catholic. I was baptized. I almost got confirmed. Went there a long time in Catholic church, catechism, all that stuff. But I think I had a similar conclusion to you, and I'm not sure. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but things like the Trinity never really made sense to me, and I just couldn't see anybody. Even to this day, like I've spoken with like Zerka, so many Christians, and nobody has the right or has an agreeable perspective on the Trinity to other Christians. Like people can't really decide. Like what kind of drove me away from that is a lot of things in Catholicism, I would say, but the Trinity is a big one. Like I don't believe in worshiping a man, and I know that Christians also say that Jesus is King, Jesus is God, But in the Bible, Jesus prayed to God. So it's like, why am I going to pray to a guy that was praying to God? I just wanted to pray to God. And I see Islam as the only actual monotheistic religion.
Yeah, the doctrine of the Trinity. As you know, I don't agree with the doctrine of the Trinity as I've continued to study the Word of God. And it's really a deep conversation in regards to, following who Jesus is from the moment he was brought forth from the Father, right? Jesus didn't start off as a human being, like we would really have to have, like, I think, a longer depth conversation just in private for me to break down the word is ontology, which is like, what is Jesus? What is he made of prior to his incarnation as a man? Who is he now? What is his role? What's his relationship with the Creator, the Father, and all that? But that's something we can talk about off stream because it goes deep. But I
But
understand.
that's why it wasn't that hard of to convert to Islam, because Islam actually like follows a lot of the stuff that I already grew up with in Catholicism. For example, like the most respected woman in the Quran is Maryam, or Mary, Jesus's mother. She's she's mentioned the most in the Quran. And same thing with Jesus. Like, it makes sense to me that he was a prophet and not the final prophet. Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the final prophet, but Jesus was a prophet and he was delivering God's message. But there were things that were misinterpreted from Christians. And I think Islam corrects a lot of that stuff. So it's like most of the stuff I already believed in and grew up with. It seems like Islam was just the final answer.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like I said, brother, I didn't like, I'm not trying to like debate you on anything. I think a lot of this stuff, really, all that a man can do, I believe, is present you with an argument, and then it's up to you on your own time to like evaluate the argument and like take the various points into consideration. So, okay, I hear you. But yeah, I mean, how about this? I mean, we can go into flat Earth. We can go into flat Earth right now, or we can continue down this road. Which road do you want to go down?
I just want to talk to young Don. It's been a while. Whatever you want to talk about. I'm an open book.
Okay, it's been a while. All right. Give me your rundown, your understanding of like, what is the point? First of all, what is the point of Islam to you? What do you think is the point of Islam? What's the end goal?
The end goal is to make it into heaven. And I think the word, I don't want to say miscorrect. I think it's jannah. So just everything that you do, we believe that everything you do on earth is, in a sense, delayed gratification in order to be in eternal paradise, which is heaven. So that means doing a lot of things that humans don't naturally want to do when it comes to your first desire or pleasure. For example, you need to wait until marriage, and you're not supposed to put alcohol into your body. You're not supposed to put anything negative into your body. You're supposed to pray 5 times a day, even when it's difficult. You have to fast even when it's difficult, because a lot of things that we do enjoy, like it's nice. It feels good to eat a lot of food. It feels good to eat when you want to eat. And like first thing you want to do in the morning is drink water. But Ramadan exists so that you can appreciate food more and you appreciate water more. And the ultimate goal is to have to worship Allah, is to worship God while we're here, because he created everything. And we're going to be judged on the final day, on the day of judgment. Our actions are going to be judged. And you want to do what is right while we're here, because you can't take wealth with you. You can't take anything else with you. The only thing that you have with you when you die is your soul. And so how intact can you keep your soul before you die? And the way to do that is to not involve yourself in worldly pleasures and be a good person. Give money away. You want to give 2.5% of your money to charity. You want to respect people and just overall be a good person.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that stuff is, it sounds very honorable, sounds very noble, and I don't have a problem with any of that stuff. In fact, many of these kinds of behaviors are encouraged by God through the scriptures. But if I may, can I give you my understanding of what Jesus was like pitching, like to understand? So so the end goal is you go to heaven. It sounds like, right? And I imagine you go to heaven in some kind of like a spiritual disembodied form. Is that your understanding?
I don't know exactly what I haven't finished the Quran, but from my understanding, it's like Muslims, we don't really think that we can conceptualize a lot of these things. Like we don't think that it's important to conceptualize God because we are not capable of understanding exactly what God is. Like you're not supposed to draw him. You're not supposed to draw Muhammad, peace be upon him, or any of the prophets. You're just supposed to be as good as you can here, and then you see eternal paradise. I'm not sure exactly how it's described, but from what I understand, the rest of Islam, it's not even worth trying to conceptualize. So we don't know exactly what it will look like or be like, but it will be eternal paradise.
Okay. So, all right. Let's incorporate a little bit of flat Earth into the conversation because I think this can help a lot. So I saw your conversation with Sheikh Usman.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe in flat Earth.
No.
Clearly, he believes the Quran doesn't preach flat Earth, but you believe in flat Earth.
I don't know if I believe in flat Earth, but I haven't seen it around, and there are some disagreements with Muslims about that. I would say I've spoken to some other sheikhs in different masjids, and mostly it doesn't say anything specifically about flat Earth. But from what I understand, it's not anything. It's like the Quran doesn't really specify that. So there's some passages that say like the Earth is spread thin like a rug or like a carpet.
Yeah.
But it's you can't take a lot of this stuff from the Quran literally. In English because it's written in Arabic. So they encourage me to not take everything literally and learn from a scholar. They don't want you to read the Quran and then misinterpret a lot of time. For example, like there's some passages where it says, where some people can misinterpret and think that God has two right hands, but we can't conceptualize God. So a lot of it is metaphorical in the Quran. A lot of it, you're not supposed to be able to translate literally. A lot of it is metaphorical like a song.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert in the Quran, but okay. So me personally, I believe that we live in a firmament cosmology. I don't believe we live on a spinning ball, brother. I'll be honest with you. I don't believe we live on a spinning ball, man. I believe there's a firmament above. Now, of course, this is primarily due to, this is just what the scriptures preach, right? The Bible in the book of Joshua teaches us that there was a day where God had the sun stand still for 24 hours, right? This is clearly not a metaphor. It's clearly not an analogy. It's clearly like attempting to be like a historical event being documented. There was a point in time where the sun stood still in the sky for 24 hours. This is impossible on a spinning ball model of the earth. All you got to do is YouTube what would happen if the earth stopped spinning. There've been countless of like physics and science channels that have made like models of that happening. The earth would be absolutely destroyed. For the earth to come to a complete standstill, there would be tsunamis, hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes. It would just completely rip the earth apart. No one would survive that. And of course, then there's the subsequent making the earth respin again, which would cause the same event to happen all over again. So most certainly, if the sun stopped, God would have also had to break multiple rules of physics to like sustain that, just for the sake of the Israelites having a battle that day. No, what is more likely is, as the scripture clearly says, that he made the sun stop moving, because the sun is a local body locked in one of the several firmament layers, right? And he made it stop and hold in position. That would not have done anything significant to the earth. But anyway, so the Bible preaches, the earth is on foundations, all kinds of things. But beyond that, there's also, have you come across a YouTube channel called Founded Earth Brothers?
No, I haven't been that deep in flat Earth.
Bro, you gotta look into it, bro. You gotta look into it. There's a reason why. Here's the thing: if your mind is open enough to it, I mean, I've heard you speak on various like things that most people are just going to be, you know, they're just not. They're you know all the things, bro. You know all the things that the the booster shots, the what's going on with children, with people in positions of power and all that. You're aware of these things, so you have a mind that is open enough to receiving this information, even though it goes against the mainstream narrative. I want you to go check out Founded Earth Brothers, the YouTube channel, and just look at their most viewed video. It's a several hour long NASA compilation fail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that I like. Owen Benjamin talks a lot about flat Earth. Zerka talks a lot about it. I do have a question. I saw this video on Instagram. This girl's like, maybe we should live here. It's like this video of Iceland, and it's like the sun doesn't set there in the summer. You know, it's sunny. It's like completely bright out at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. It's bright 24 hours. I'm wondering how, like, what's the explanation for that? If the Earth is flat, then how come there's certain places when that's further from the equator where the sun doesn't set like it does in the middle of Earth?
Well, I mean, if you go to a YouTube channel like Eric Dubay, that's ERIC space DUBAY, Eric Dubay. He has videos that covers topics like that. Essentially, the simplified answer is that if you were to imagine the Earth being some kind of a spherical, not spherical, like a circular plane, like a plate, the sun does not follow the same path year round. Like the diameter or the radius of the circle that the sun makes over the plane of the Earth, it gets smaller and it expands as the year goes on. This is how we get the various seasons. So I'm sure that has something to do with Iceland being close to the center of the plane of the Earth, and then this is probably during the time of the year where the sun's circular path is the smallest, and so it never leaves the vicinity of Iceland for any significant period of time. But I'm sure that's not a year-round thing. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's not a year-round thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm open-minded to it. I mean, I've never seen the Earth curve. It looks pretty flat to me. So
let me ask you something. Have you ever seen the flat part of a ball?
No.
Exactly. Right? Every single point on a sphere is curving away from the previous point. So the fact that you can observe tens of miles of horizon, flat horizon, that tells you. That alone tells you.
Do you know what NASA means? I don't want to get this wrong, but do you know what NASA means in Hebrew?
Yeah, Nasha, right? It means deception.
Deception.
And in there's another language, I think it might be Hindi. NASA means some other evil dark thing. I can't remember right now, but yeah, bro, it's all lies, bro. Go and look at the NASA compilation by Founded Earth Brothers. That will tell you everything you need to know. It's
maybe Elon Musk was trying to tell us space.
Elon is a part of it, bro.
Space isn't real.
No, brother, he's a part of it. He's telling people he's putting things on Mars, bro. He's a part of the lie.
Oh, Mars isn't real.
No, not the planet. It's a star. It's a wandering star in the firmament. But yeah, this idea that here's the thing. What a missed opportunity, huh? Put a GoPro on the spaceship and point it back to Earth. Since he's sending it, forget the moon. He sent this thing all the way to Mars. Just put a little camera on the back, turn it to Earth so we can see it go from where it launched from all the way to the upper atmospheres of the globe, all the way out past, the Earth's orbit, so we could just see the Earth, a time lapse of the Earth getting smaller and smaller and smaller till we see our little circle ball. What a missed opportunity. Would have cost him like $100. Wow. Crazy how you can do that.
Don, I'm not a globetard. I'm open-minded to it until I could see somebody prove. I'm gonna assume the Earth is flat because it looks flat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
No.
what's your opinion on the Trinity? What's your explanation for that? And do you think, two questions, like one, how do you describe the Trinity? And two, do you think that Jesus is God?
Yeah, no, I don't believe in the Trinity, and I don't. So here's the thing: God is a person, right? We have a Creator, an Almighty, the Father. He created all things. His name is Yahweh, right? In Islam, you refer to him as Allah, but Allah, I believe, is just Arabic for God. So it's like
Yeah.
calling him God, right? So that's not his name. Do in Islam does God have a name?
No, just Allah. Just means
Okay.
God.
All right. So in the Bible, right, in the book of Exodus, which is a part of the Torah, which I believe Muslims and Islam recognize as, a accurately preserved portion of the scriptures. I think Muslims particularly have a problem with the New Testament, but I haven't heard them criticize the Old Testament that much. So as far as I'm aware, they acknowledge the writings of Moses. Have you heard anything otherwise to that?
I think that's correct, but there's a lot of criticism in the Quran about the way that Jews conduct business and credit, especially like credit and interest, all that's haram, everything in the Kabbalah and the Talmud, like all the mysticism and stuff, that's completely haram. But
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't. What have you heard about the Jews and how they conduct interest? Like they charge interest.
well, if you look into the Talmud, or if you even look in the Kabbalah, there's a lot of there's some verses where they talk about it's not a sin to lie to goy. Like they don't think that you can lie to goy because they're the chosen people and they see others as
That's
the,
all
the
nonsense. You know this, right? You know
yeah,
that none of that is
well,
scripture, right?
none of that is scripture. A lot of
No.
this is stuff that like isn't really, it's hard to find. Like you could just
Mm.
find quotes, but like apparently it's just shared between rabbis and stuff.
Yeah, so all of that, again, this is so if you read the Gospels, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the first four books of the Bible, these are the books that document the life, the ministry of Jesus, right? Or Yeshua. Uh, Yeshua or Jesus was very much against. The people he fought against the most were the Jewish rabbis at the time, the Pharisees. They were called Pharisees, right? Now, people call me a Pharisee. People don't know what Pharisees are, right? Jesus condemned the Pharisees because they were not keeping the commandments. They were not preaching the commandments of God, but instead they came up with their own rules, their own sense of right and wrong that was inspired by the commandments of God. And this is no different than what we see in, a lot of modern day Christianity as well. But we also see the same thing in Islam, right? Taking the commandments of God and changing it, building upon it, tweaking things. For instance, in Islam, you guys have a Sabbath, right?
Um, I wouldn't say Sabbath, no.
Okay, I thought in Islam they had a Friday Sabbath. Is that a thing?
No, no. I mean, on Friday, men are required to go to the masjid and pray Juma, but there's no Sabbath. That
Okay.
I'm new, so I don't. I'm about to Google it right now, but I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway. Yeah. So the Trinity, yeah, brother. I don't agree with the doctrine
Yeah,
of the
no. It
Trinity.
says the Quran states that since the Sabbath was only for Jews, Muslim replaced Sabbath rest with Juma. So yeah, it's just Juma prayer.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So again, the Father gave us the Sabbath. There's a reason we have a 7-day week, right? This is something you don't find anywhere else but in the Bible, right? In the Torah, the establishment of a 7-day week. There's a reason why the whole world operates under this system, and it's because it was what was established with the first people, and so of course this carried on into every culture that came after Adam and Eve. And the seventh day is a Sabbath day, and it's a day of rest. But so yeah, with the Trinity, I don't subscribe to the doctrine of the Trinity, brother. It is not a doctrine that one need the Bible require. The Bible doesn't teach a Trinity. There is not a single verse or a single section in the Bible that attempts to teach the concept of the Trinity. The Trinity is a doctrine that is derived from various verses in the Bible, and people philosophizing, right? They say, oh well, if I understand this verse like this, and I understand this verse like this, and I understand this verse like this, and I combine them together, what you get is the concept of the Trinity. But you can't find a single verse where Jesus or any of the apostles or the apostle Paul attempts to teach the concept of Yahweh being a being consistent of three different persons. And so, yeah, you don't
So you
need.
believe in one God?
Yeah, I believe in one.
You
I believe
believe
in the Father, Yahweh. He's the creator. Now,
one God, one
yeah,
creator. Do you believe Jesus was God?
no, right? So here's the thing: the word God, as established in the religion of Christianity, right, or in the religion of following Yahweh. This at one point was, the religion of the Israelites, which now gets conflated with modern day Judaism, but they are not the same at all. And then now the modern religion of Christianity, which in my opinion has deviated incredibly from the true path, the true way that was taught by Jesus and the prophets that came before him, right? Not to diminish Jesus to solely just being a prophet, as you would hear in Islam, right? A prophet what is a prophet? Is a prophet who's someone who brings the message of God.
A messenger.
Right. So Jesus was a prophet in the sense of that was one of the titles that he bore, but he wore many hats, right? He is also going to be the king of the coming kingdom of God that will descend through this is why I brought up the flat earth stuff, because it is an integral part to the concept of what is the end game for Christianity. We were talking about what the end game is for Islam. The end game for Christianity is that God will descend with his son and a city. Imagine a city the size of multiple states, right? More wondrous than any city you've ever been to, right? Descending out of the sky. This is what the Bible tells us we will see, right? How is that possible in a globe earth model in a vacuum of space? It's not possible. It's stupid, right? But
What type of Christian do you consider yourself now?
I don't even wear that title anymore. Be
You're
Christian.
not a Christian.
They've kicked me out of the club. They don't call me a Christian no more, because the Trinity is a part of their religious doctrine, and I don't care. I was never in it for the group. I was just trying to find the truth, and the truth is in the Bible. It's in Yeshua, and it's in his Father. But I don't care about the title. I don't care about the group. So yeah, I just believe.
It sounds like you're very close to Islam.
I don't think so at all. Here's why. Because in Islam, you believe you're going to heaven. I do not believe you go to heaven. You will never see heaven, right? The kingdom, a city being built by God himself, will descend through the firmament that is above us, and land on earth.
Where on earth?
Where on earth? I believe it said it's somewhere between the Euphrates River and somewhere in that Middle Eastern area. I can't remember exactly where, but it's somewhere in proximity to the Euphrates River. It's described as landing. I can look that up for you at another time, but yeah. So we have an actual location. We have an actual size, right? It tells us exactly how large it will be. It's about a little less than half the size of America is the square footage, right, of this city. And so anyway, this city, this kingdom of heaven, will descend down, and Yeshua, Jesus, the Son of God. Now, okay, so here's what I want you to imagine, right? There are different species of beings, right, that make up reality, okay? We have God, right, who is a one of one, Yahweh the Father. Then he created angels. That's another type of being. He also created humans. That's another type of being. He created the animals, the brute beasts of the earth. This is a different kind of being and all that. Well, he begat a son, Yeshua, the only other being, the only other person who is like the Father, identical to the Father in his, I suppose you can say his makeup, right? He's identical to the Father in that sense. Like, he's literally the Son of God, but he himself is not God. He is a child of God. He's the offspring of God, right? And he's a prince. essentially, right? The Father, God, He is the King. You still there, or did you freeze on me? Oh, wait. Did you freeze on me? I don't know what just happened. Oh, hold on. Hey, brother. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know why I disconnected, but the final being his son. Finish your sentence.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me. There we go. All right. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. Let me.
Yeah, I made a cliffhanger.
Yeah. So anyway. So the point is, right? Jesus, Yeshua, he is. Let me put you back up on the screen here. He is the son of the Father, right? He is the son of the Father. Now, I don't want to get too deep in it because at this end of the day, all spiritual beings are made of spirit, right? Just as the Father is made of spirit. Um, there are a lot of layers to this, but the point is the Father has a son, just like how you can have a child, SNEAKO. The Father has a son, right? Yeshua. He was born right before the world was created, before this world we live in, this firmament encased world we live in was created. Jesus was brought forth from out of the Father, and at some point the Father sends his son Yeshua to earth and is incarnated in the form of a human being, and he is obedient unto death, right? Never sinning, qualifying himself to become the high priest of the earth, right? So he becomes an eternal high priest, obedient unto death, the firstborn of the resurrection. So Jesus is resurrected, brought back from the dead, and he is now in the form of, he now has a spirit body once again. So he had a spirit body in heaven. He takes on the body of a human. He is resurrected back into having a spirit body, but still in the form of a human being, right? And so now he can go back to heaven and dwell in the presence of the Father. The Bible tells us that a human being, right? Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. A human cannot look upon the face of the Father and live, right? So in order for Jesus to go back in the presence of the Father, as the angels are able to be in the presence of the Father and look upon his face, he needed to reassume a spirit body composition. This is what was achieved in his resurrection. And so ultimately, to gain access to the coming kingdom of God that is coming through the firmament down from heaven, you must also receive a body like Jesus has. So the question is, how do you receive this body, right? Jesus has to resurrect you. He is the one who has been given the authority to decide who will and who will not be resurrected into this immortal spiritual body. And so that is who we place our hope, our trust, our faith in to be resurrected into immortality. It is in Jesus, who has been given the authority from God, the Father, to do this. And so that's why I put my faith in Jesus. And that's why I trust the teachings of Jesus, the instructions of Jesus. He tells you specifically what you need to do in order to qualify for this immortal body, for this eternal life, right? And that is to obey him, to do what he says, because he was given the everything he taught came directly from the Father. Jesus did not speak of in his own self. He didn't say, all right, so here's what you do to receive immortal life. He transmitted the message from God, the Father. So when you listen to Jesus, it is the same as listening to God. Why? Because Jesus carried the message of God, but he himself was not claiming to be Yahweh. No.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It sounds like that conclusion that you came to is pretty similar to how I converted to Islam, but we'll see. We'll see where this goes. I'm very surprised you took this this path and you don't even call yourself a Christian anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's that word has lost all meaning. in my opinion, compared to when it was used. It was only mentioned a couple times, 2 times in the Bible, right? But that word, it means nothing these days, and so it's neither here nor there for me. Um, yeah, brother. I mean, listen, man. Again, if you heard what I just said, like Islam goes against a lot of these concepts. For me, really, brother, though, the flat Earth, I think, is the key. Flat Earth, I do believe, is the key because the Bible and all the various books that have been taken out of the Bible, such as First Enoch, right? This is a book I would highly suggest you look into. It explains more in detail um, how everything is constructed by God. And so anyway, once you come to the realization you don't live on a spinning ball in an infinite vacuum barreling through the nothingness of space, and that you live in a created enclosed system that is being watched over by the Father, now you got to ask yourself which scripture most accurately communicates that. And I mean, it's the Bible. It's the Bible. I mean, as you've heard it yourself, even modern Muslims, they completely disavow, that the Quran even attempts to talk about the earth not being a spinning ball.
I don't know if they completely disavow that. It's just that they don't think that, or we don't think that the Quran specifies exactly whether or not the earth is flat or round. It just doesn't really get into the details about that. One thing I do got to give Christians credit for is I think that the next psyop of aliens coming to invade is a way for them to introduce demons under the guise of aliens. That makes sense to me. That this is how they're going to introduce a lot of evil and make people like, whoa, it's going to be on the news. We're going to think it's cool. And we're not going to see it for what it really is.
Yeah, brother. I mean, the alien thing is all a lie, clearly. Obviously, there is no space. There is no outer space. That's not a real thing. So yeah. Whether or not they're going to be introducing, I mean, there are plenty of videos I got you to watch, bro. I need for you to watch. There are plenty of videos.
I mean, all the links, man. I'll make sure to
Yeah.
I need stuff to react to on stream once I get back to it.
Yeah. But all right, let's talk about that. Let's change conversation a little bit. So how's Rumble been treating you?
Rumble's good, man. I've been streaming on Rumble longer than YouTube. I think when you came to my apartment in Brooklyn, I was like maybe 3 months into streaming on YouTube. I only streamed for like 5 or 6 before I got banned. I've been on Rumble for 8 months now. I think over 8 months. Isn't it crazy to think that I've been a Rumble streamer longer than a YouTube streamer? That's good. There's a chance that I could get right now I'm in the process of trying to get my YouTube channels back because they reversed the election misinformation policy in 2020, saying that, I don't want to say it exactly in case it's whatever, but you weren't allowed to insinuate that certain politicians might have had the election rigged against them in 2020, and I did. And that was one of my strikes. But they removed that policy. You're allowed to actually talk about that now. So if I get that strike removed, then I would get my channels reinstated. And that would be huge because I really do miss the main channel. I'm in my main channel vibes right now. I'm making some. I would recommend you watch. I'll watch your videos if you watch Rat Race on stream. It's on Twitter and Rumble. The video's fire. But if I get my main channel back, that'd be huge. But we'll see. I don't want to get my hopes up about it because I probably shouldn't. But Rumble's good, and yeah, and talks with other streaming websites. But yeah, I think I survived the cancellation pretty well. I was pretty. Yeah, we were talking when that happened. That was pretty brutal. But I'm still here.
Yeah, no, bro. You seem to be doing great, man. You seem to be doing great. And that's dope, man. That is dope that you were able to, muscle through all that.
How's your family? How's your new baby?
She's good. About to be 2 months. In a few days. And yeah, man, being a dad is cool. You ain't now that you're a Muslim and you see the value of like family and all that from a more, spiritual, more religious point of view. Do you feel like you're any closer to trying to look for a wife and like settle down?
Yeah, I just came back from I traveled to Spain. I've been looking. I've been looking, but you got to pick very carefully. That's like one of the biggest traps. You don't want to have kids with the wrong woman. So I do kind of miss the, I quit drinking too, but sober almost completely for like over almost 2 months now.
Oh, wow.
And do miss it. I'm not gonna lie. Thinking back to Brooklyn, like when we had a couple drinks, it's still it's I can't lie. It's after a long day, a glass of wine or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Hey
a lot
man,
of
here's
more
the thing: if you're a
mental
Christian, you can drink, bro.
You said no when you came to Brooklyn, though. You said that in the Bible, you weren't allowed to drink.
I mean, I'm. If I had said that, I still had a lot to learn. If I
Okay, you're
yeah.
drinking again.
Yeah, so that's again. Here's the problem. So in the Bible, through the prophet Moses, right? God tells us exactly how to live righteously. He gives us instructions for how to live righteously. It's called the Torah, right? And some people say it's this, like they try to put a number on it, say it's 600 something laws and all that, but that's a complete mischaracterization of God is just instructing us, telling us what is good behavior, what is right behavior. If you borrow something from somebody, this is what you do. If you lend someone money to somebody, do not charge interest. Like, to make them seem as if there are 600 things you have to do on a to-do list every day is just completely false. It's just he breaks down to you, what does it look like to live righteously, right? And modern Christianity has done away with it, right? They have fought for this idea that God's laws have been dissolved by Jesus and replaced with this concept of just love people, right? Love people, and thus you fulfill all the law. And in doing that, because I believe that humans are designed with, the same moral compass that God has, right? We realize, there's got to be something more. There's got to be more to this living righteously, living right in the sight of God. But because we have done away with the instructions he gave us, you have modern Christians coming up with their own new laws, their own new rules, right? And so some sects of Christianity, right? You go to some Baptist churches, they'll tell you can't drink at all. Right? Some denominations such as Seventh-day Adventists, a lot of them will tell you can't drink at all, even though Jesus turned water into wine. They'll read into the scriptures and says, oh, it was just talking about juice. Jesus turned water into grape juice. You know what I'm saying? And so, no, Jesus turned water into wine. There is nothing. He was accused of being a wine bibber. They wouldn't, which is basically a drunk. They would never accuse Jesus of being a wine bibber if he was drinking grape juice all the time. You know what I mean? So it's there's nothing wrong with drinking wine. The sin is being a drunk, right? Being a drunk. How do you know when you're a drunk? When your alcohol consumption causes you to break God's commandments. See, there is no specific commandment on drinking alcohol besides do not fall into drunkenness.
Yeah, don't be a drunkard.
Yeah, exactly. And you're a drunkard when your drinking causes you to break the commandments of God. So if you're able to have your 1 or 2 glasses of wine in the evening and then not turn into a degenerate, then you're good. But if your drinking causes you to become an angry person, a violent person, someone who is given into your lustful desires, you know what I'm saying? It causes you to speak very harshly or unlovingly to people, then hey, you need to pull it back with the drinking, maybe even, not drink at all. But if you're someone who can just chill in the evening, like drink a drink, cut on a TV show, and not turn into an absolute heathen, then there's no problem with that. So yeah.
I wish that there was I talk about it in Rat Race. So I want you to watch that video, but it'd be nice. It'd be nice to be a little bit degenerate once in a while and just like get it out. But you can't do it. But it's better. Yeah, I'm getting a lot more work done. I'm way more optimized, and converting to Islam. I would say it's been really good for my mental. There is one thing, I don't know if you read this in the Bible, saying that I've seen verses Sheikh Uthman showed me, like that there's a verse where it says Jesus would pray and put his head to the floor praying to God, and that's pretty much how Muslims pray. You put your face down and
Hmm.
you touch your forehead to the prayer mat. Have you read that verse?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the Bible, you see various people when they are praying. I mean, you got to think about it. When you bow down on the ground, you are physically humbling yourself to the greatest degree. And so we see examples of Moses, King David, various people from the Bible, Elijah praying in this prone position. It's not,
Why don't they feel like that in church?
I don't know. I mean, in some churches, they do get down on their knees, right? They get down on their knees on the pews, like in Catholic churches in particular. I've been to.
Yeah, but you're not on the floor. Like you get in the pew kind of, but you're still standing like this. But it's not on the actual floor. It seems if most people could admit that that's the strongest form of submission. If you're going to submit to anything, it should be to God. I'm confused about that. It didn't make sense to me. Like why you just stand, sit, kind of kneel on the thing, but
I
seems
mean,
like
I pray.
do you think,
I do everything, bro. I'll pray. I'll just be walking somewhere and do a little quick prayer in my head, or I could be in my closet, in my walk-in closet, door closed. I'll be on the floor, forehead to the ground, praying to God. It's like that's the thing. It's not a commandment in terms of the position you take when you're praying. But when you realize that you are praying to your creator who is sitting above you in his throne in heaven, getting down on your hands and knees, it feels like a very, appropriate position to take when coming before the Almighty. And so, there's no
that's how we
command.
pray?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, what matters is, the genuineness of your prayer and, your relationship with God. See, it doesn't matter if you get on the floor and put your head to the floor if you're not having a genuine conversation with the creator. You know what I mean? So that's really what we care about. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to pray, in that prone position because it makes you very humble, but you're not always in a place to do that. You see, here's the difference though between like maybe you might have been in airports and seen Muslims doing that. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
seen that.
Yeah, they even in the Arab world, they even have sections where you can go and pray off to the side in an airport, like prayer room specifically.
Yeah, see, what something Jesus or preached against is praying in a public fashion, praying in a way for people to see that you're praying. So here, there are a lot of Christians who will get down in their hands and knees and pray privately in their bedroom or in their closet. You know what I'm saying? But who you making a show for? If God is all knowing and can
No,
hear your.
Muslims don't. We don't make it a show. It's just that when you're out or you're working or you're in a place where you can't find a private place available,
Mhm.
then yeah, then you do it in public. Like you'll see people working at halal restaurants and they'll put the prayer mat next to their food cart, for example. But that's only because of that out of proximity, and there's nothing else available. So that's a good exception to the rule. If you have no private place, then it's better to pray than not pray. But obviously, that's not like there's no part in the Quran where it says you're putting on a show.
I hear you. I feel you. So, okay, in Islam, you have to pray in that position. You can't just be like sitting in your chair and you just in your head real quick do a prayer to God, like just speak in your, with your internal voice to God.
They make exceptions too. If you're like an old man or you're disabled, then you could sit in a chair if you can't actually get to the floor. But that's what you're supposed to do. Obviously, that was on a plane coming back from Morocco, and the flight attendant was Muslim, and he was, he had no space to get on the floor, so he said a prayer sitting down. But
Hmm.
that's how you're supposed to pray. Like anything else is just because you don't have the option to.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. See, that's one thing I would, I think you could make the argument for. I mean, it's subjective at the end of the day, but I think that's something you can make the argument for when it comes to Christians is this idea that, okay, if you're in a public place, if it is a genuine prayer and you do, like, if you do a prayer in your head real quick, right? You're going into something and you just pray to the Father in your head. That is the most genuine form of prayer where nobody else knows you're doing it. Not like the only reason you're doing it is because you believe that he's listening. You know what I mean? Because you believe someone's listening, as opposed to, you know, doing it in a more public fashion. So I can see why.
I think you're getting pretty caught up on the public fashion thing because maybe that's how you've seen it. I think it's good to pray in your head like that, like if you're walking around. But in Islam, prayer is taken extremely seriously. That's the first thing you're supposed to do after you take your shahada, which is just admitting that Allah is the one true creator and Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a final prophet. After you take your shahada, the most important thing is to get the prayers right. And so there's a lot of things that your prayer won't be accepted. For example, if you just fornicated and you don't clean yourself, then the prayer is not accepted. So like we do this thing called wudu before you pray. If you're dirty at all, like you're supposed to, there's this faucet specifically, you have to clean your feet, clean your hands, clean your mouth, nose, ears. You're supposed to clean everything around, and you're supposed to be completely clean before you pray, so that there's nothing like obstructing your body. There's even like things in the Quran, like you're not supposed to talk, or you're not supposed to get distracted during prayer. You're not supposed to like even like things like pass gas, stuff like that. Like if you can't interrupt that when you're praying. It's just you, and you're just supposed to worship God, and nothing is supposed to interrupt that at all. So cleanliness is extremely important, and being fully focused. And if you're not, then the prayer doesn't count.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no, that's interesting. That's interesting. I was just giving you a different like perspective on like why, there can be a benefit to not doing the whole going prone as a Christian when you look at it from the perspective of, oh, this is just a private like communication between you and God. But I don't have any problem with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not criticizing, and I'm not suggesting that when Muslims pray in public in prone that they're doing it for the sake of showing other people that they're so religious. You know what I'm saying? I'm not accusing anyone of that in particular.
Yeah, I don't think I personally, I don't think Muslims are doing it for that reason. I don't think that's there's nothing that makes it seem like that. I don't think that if they were thinking that while they were praying, it wouldn't be accepted.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I'm just giving you, my perspective on the whole prayer posture thing. But okay. And all right, so gone to Spain, looking for a wife. Rumble's treating you good. Okay. All right. Well, and you're telling me that I should react to a rat race. That's your latest. Okay. It's only on Twitter. You say it's also on your Rumble page, right?
On Rumble too, yeah. But I'm posting like these the more edited ones on Twitter, because Twitter have a pretty big presence on. It's a good platform right now. The video players are getting better. A couple other things I just came to mind, like prayer and in Islam. What I really like because I'm new to it. Like when you pray in a masjid, you're supposed to like stand shoulder to shoulder with everybody. And I didn't really understand that at first. And it's not even like you're like squishing each other, but your shoulders supposed to be like touching a little bit next to the people there. And it's because you're creating a wall against shaitan. You're blocking the devil from being able to interrupt the prayer. So everyone stands there. And there's other things like just like about the hand positions. You're supposed to keep the hands here. I like it's. I personally have felt like a stronger connection praying in Islam, like a type of connection that I didn't really feel in Christianity.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Here's my argument for Christian prayer as opposed to Islamic prayer. Jesus spoke against vain repetitions. He spoke against memorized. Even the Lord's Prayer, I do not believe is this like memorized prayer that we're just supposed to recite. I think God was, was showing us through Jesus how to speak to him. You know what I mean? Like the format. But I think what God wants is a genuine conversation, a genuine relationship, a genuine like it'd be like, imagine if every time you linked up with a homie, with a friend, or with a girl, and you just like said the same thing every time.
Yeah, I had that apprehension at first too, but as you start getting, because you're supposed to always repeat certain phrases when you pray at the different times of day, but it's not like you're just saying that to Allah. You're reciting the prayer, but in that moment when you're reciting it, that's when you're having the conversation. It's not like you're saying the words. It's not like when you say the Our Father 10 times after the priest tells you to do that in confession. It's not like you're saying that directly, the thoughts that you're having and the connection that you're having, you are having a conversation with God that's separate from what you're just reciting. So even though you're saying things that you repeat every single time over and over again, I felt like when I'm in the masjid praying or when I'm praying at home, that in that moment of repetition, that's when I really see what's going on in my head and what I'm saying to God. And what I resonate with more in Islam is when I was praying in Christianity, like when I was a kid, I would ask for a lot. I would be like, I want this, I want that, please give me this, please do that. And when I pray in Islam, and I don't know if this is correct, but it's more like I'm showing gratitude and more appreciative of what I have. And I don't feel the when I'm praying, I'm not asking. I'm not saying I want this. I'm grateful and I'm praying and I'm appreciative of the people around me and my loved ones and everything, and hoping that if I do the right things or when I do the right things, that everybody will be okay. So it's more just it's more gratitude in the prayer for me.
Yeah, and look, I think that's a good thing. I think it's good that you're expressing more gratitude when you come to talk to the Father, to talk to the Creator. You know what I mean? It's good to be thankful. But at the same time, Jesus said that the greatest in the kingdom of heaven will be are the ones who are the most humble. And there is nothing, in my opinion, more humble than taking that position of I can't get this thing without God. There's this thing that I need. And so, like, I don't think I understand the sentiment, and I don't think it's just like unique to Islam. I think there are Christians who feel the same way, who, as they mature in their spiritual walk, they go from just treating God like Santa Claus, I suppose you could say, and more.
Yeah, maybe that's not in the Bible, but that's the essence that I got from like Christian culture. I would say like people asking God for this, like thinking, yeah, treating it like Santa Claus. But in Islam, you always say something like inshallah, which means like God will. So like, oh, Don, I'll see you next week, inshallah. Like God willing, if God allows it, then it will happen. But it's not in my hands because He is determined. He determines everything. So it's more accepting of that everything is the way it is, and we don't have ultimate control. So if God allows it, then it will happen. That's what that means, inshallah. So it's more, I feel more acceptance with reality. Whereas when I was, I'm not sure if this is correct, but I was praying in Christianity, I'm like, I really want this, and I want my good grades, and please for if I'm good, and God, I really want this, and I.
But what's wrong with that? What's wrong? What's wrong with asking God for things?
Because if God wanted to give it to you, He would. You know, I don't know if asking for it makes it any difference. I just can't conceptualize God being like, well, he prayed really hard, I'll give him a car. You know, it's just like these are a lot of stuff that you pray for and ask for. They're worldly things. And so, like praying for health, for example, like you could pray like I hope, I really want, I love my, you know, if you have a sick grandmother or something, really want her to be okay, and I pray for her, I hope she's okay. But the difference that I noticed, it'd be like, God, please heal her, please heal her. Whereas in Islam, it's more of an acceptance that it's not in your control.
Well, you know, the way how I look at it, and I can appreciate that. I was just looking up this Bible verse right here, right? And it says, James chapter 4, verse 2-3. You want what you don't have, so you scheme and you kill to get it. You are jealous of what others have, but you can't get it, so you fight and wage war to take it away from them. Yet you don't have what you want because you do not ask God for it. And even when you ask, you don't get it because your motives are all wrong. You only want that which will give you pleasure. And so that same sentiment you're expressing is in the Bible. And remember, the Bible was written, the entire Bible is completed hundreds of years. Oh, did I lose you again? I think I might have lost you. Hold on again. Hold on. You still there? Oh, here we go again. Hold on. Yeah, we're back. Okay.
Okay, I heard it. I clocked into the stream and I was able to hear what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, I was just hold on, let me here, you turning your camera back on?
Yeah. I do got to get going after this. I'm in the middle of a hardcore edit, so I don't want to.
For sure. Yeah, we'll just wrap up here. I was just trying to like, share with you that, the Bible was completed hundreds of years before the Quran was written. And
Yeah.
this same idea, the same sentiment was already found in the scriptures. So the idea that, you're not supposed to add, one, no man knows the future. Two, ultimately you're not supposed to be asking God for things that are only for the sake of pleasure in your flesh. And but the beauty behind asking God for things is acknowledging that God doesn't cause bad things to happen, right? He like every time a baby gets cancer, God did not give that baby cancer. You know what I mean? We are the things that are happening today, as I understand it, are a consequence of, decisions that are made by flawed human beings, right? And the domino effect goes all the way back to Adam and Eve. And so these things are playing out, but God being an all powerful being, right? Someone who is able to intervene at his will and change the course. Things could be going down one path, but he has the power and the ability to change the course of things. If based off of genetics, based off of just the way things are working out from a like logical scientific point of view, someone has cancer and they're going to die. This is cancer that, if all things are allowed to play out as they will most logically play out, that person will die. God has the ability to intervene and change that situation. And just like how you, when you become a father, you will have the ability to buy your kids whatever, right? But you're not just going to go out every day and just try and just buy them whatever they want. But if you have an obedient child who is a good child, right? He comes to you one day and just be like, hey, dad, there's this one thing I really want. You may be more inclined to be like, okay, I'll go get you that one thing that you really want. It's no different. You know what I'm saying? So you being an obedient child of God, keeping his commandments, walking the way he wants you to walk. And then one day someone you really love gets sick and the doctors are like, yeah, this is not looking good. And so you decide to fast and pray and you beg your father, your heavenly father, who you have a real relationship with, hey, father, things are looking real grim with so-and-so, but I need you to do, please, could you save this person? The father may shine his face upon you, right? And be like, you know what, my faithful and loving son, I got you. I'm gonna do this for you. And then through his spirit, he heals this person. That's a real thing. It reflects more of an actual relationship, realizing that the creator is a person, just like you and I, and we are made in his image. You feel me? So that's the way how I see God. God is like us in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? So, but yeah.
Yeah, it probably has to be, but we don't believe it's really worth conceptualizing too much. But even saying that, we still address God as he, so a masculine figure in the Quran. So there must be some correlation. But I don't think that we say that God created man in his image the way that Christians do in the Bible.
Yeah, but yeah, brother. All right. Well, yeah, man. Thanks for so short notice, giving us your time and, catching up. We should definitely talk more about these things and in the future. And, we'll watch that video. We'll probably react to it tomorrow because I'll probably go to bed after this. But
all right.
Yeah.
It's only 5 minutes. It's only 5 minutes.
All right. I'll watch it right after we get off stream.
It's fire, man. You're gonna like the camera work and everything, and like I edited it too. I think it's really good. But it's good to talk to you, man. I like the beard, looking very, very Muslim.
Shut up.
Beard like that.
Shut up.
Come on, man.
Shut
Hey, we'll talk
up. Yeah, nah, brother. I'm saying I appreciate that, and yeah, it was great talking to you, brother. We gotta talk again soon.
All right, talk soon, man.
All right, bro. Peace out.
Peace.
Yeah, guys, let's check out SNEAKO's video. Rat Race. This one. Okay, here we go. Let's see what we got here. All right, guys, we're going to be reacting to this video by SNEAKO, Rat Race. Let's check it out. This that old SNEAKO right here.
I'm spending the final days of my early 20s traveling the world trying to find the ideal place to raise a family. The original plan was keep being a degenerate until I'm 30 before kneeling on a prayer mat, but you can't procrastinate truth forever. You can't ignore how most 20-somethings are currently parading in the streets celebrating the deadliest sin with rainbows. Most of them don't even want to have children for illegitimate reasons ranging from climate change to feminism. And even though I probably won't buy a house in the middle of nowhere Spain, I see this search as the highest act of resistance.
People throw the term selling out a lot, and I believe that if you accept a dead-end fucking job to pay your bills, you're selling out. Those conversations you have when you're 40 about what could have been, should have been.
10 years of making videos has defined most of my conscious life. Now I'm forced to create goals that are attainable for the next 10 years. I accomplished everything I had planned at 14. Right now is a defining moment in life where I could either coast off the dopamine of success, spending money on drugs and casual sex, or start from a new zero.
You only live once, and no matter what rap lyrics will tell you, that doesn't mean getting hammered out of your mind every Friday.
We both know the correct decision, but people need a constant reminder. These worldly temptations were outlined for 2 hours straight by a sheikh that I met in Madrid. In that masjid, he slowly explained in broken English and French how drugs, sex, and filth is fun, but more important than health, it's corrupting your soul. Of course I want to be a degenerate, enjoy the fruits of my labor. I fantasize all the time about a month directly after Ramadan called Haramadan, where you can just indulge in degeneracy for 30 days straight. But that temptation is strong, but the happiness is fleeting. The highest form of human achievement is inspiration. Clearly defining your purpose and working towards accomplishing it is the only way that men can escape suicide.
Seeing people on TV making something out of their lives while I'm filing reports for a corporation I despise would kill me.
It took me a decade to learn the very simple truth they cannot teach in school. The world is run by satanic billionaires, and as long as we're controlled, we're underneath their spell. Almost all people fit into one of two groups. One side will mutilate their children to fit a gender ideology, and the other gets vasectomies to have meaningless sex forever. But both sides don't realize they're conforming to ideas they would have never had by following God. Everyone is coping and adjusting to the evil that rules over us. There's enough resources for everyone to be happy. There's enough love, enough empathy, but greed corrupts the human spirit. Without greed, we have everything we need. Greed has 0.1% of the population in a chokehold that 99.9% can't even comprehend. Today marks a decade since I started my YouTube channel called SNEAKO, and it's because of that greed that I don't have my channel to celebrate it. The greed that has the pharmaceutical companies keeping us sick. That greed that rigs elections so they maintain control. Those 10 years define an internal struggle that every person can relate to. Visually, it's defined by a rat in a maze. Like everyone, you start the maze looking for a way out, but whoever set it up put up traps with poisonous cheese. Even when the rat discovers the cheese is poisonous because there's carcasses laying all around, it still chooses to eat it from any reason ranging from finances to mental health. When I started the maze playing video games, I had learned freedom of expression. In that time of life where you're free from responsibility, but held back by fear of judgment. Just insecure enough to find your voice in secret. Then adolescence hit and set the existential dread that defines most people. What are you going to do for the rest of your life? How much of my true self can I compromise to pay the bills and simultaneously maintain sanity? This is where most people choose the comfort zone in life. When the rat decides to eat the cheese because it tastes good enough to ignore the poison. Then my early 20s was a spiritual battle that forced me to ask a question that we've all had to answer. How do I find happiness now that I'm aware of this maze? The rat's not supposed to know where it really is. The maze doesn't even have an exit. It was designed purely for someone's entertainment. Now the rat can frantically run around forever or die slowly nibbling the cheese. The rat can go back to the entrance, but there's no way out. The only actual way to get out is mentally.
That was real. That was real. Yeah, man. You know, I like the direction that SNEAKO's going in personally. You know, I know a lot of people are upset about the fact that he's a Muslim now and all that. But at the end of the day, he's a, you know, a free thinking man who needs an opportunity to explore these things, you know, completely. And um you know, I think he's a genuine person looking for truth. I mean, everybody, the path is messy for most people. It most certainly is messy for me. So I don't, you know, just continue to share things with him, and ultimately, you know, we all we can do is plant the seed, and God waters it and grows the plant. But you know, I think, you know, SNEAKO is a genuine person trying to really get to the bottom of things. You know what I'm saying? So I think he has good intentions. Okay. Well, that was a dope video. Very, very, you know, old SNEAKO-esque. Very you know, artistic.